right, that part's live.
Hey, everybody.
Yes, hi.
Welcome to Political Head Trauma.
Not yet.
Okay, well, welcome to those of you that are on with us right now.
Remember, we got to start up all these different things.
How great will it be when we hit the big time and we have producers and all of that to do all the stuff, all the things.
Mm-hmm. Okay, now do it.
Welcome to Political Head Trauma. Hi, everybody. My name is Holly. This is Jared and Political Head Trauma, where if
Head Trauma had a podcast, it would sound like this.
Humana. So, oh my gosh, another big week. We're still winning. The left has kind of lost their noodle. So I just want to jump right into it. So many things, guys. So many things. So I don't know if you follow Substack. We did have a guest on that she had her own Substack. We've got a couple that actually have a Substack that is very interesting. I have never dove into Substack myself. So I was turned on to it today by a podcaster and just reading just the beginning of the Substack. Now, for those of you that may not know, USAID, AID, is one of the first departments that Elon and his group have decided to dive in on. And that's one of the first departments they have found millions of wasted US tax dollars. And this was founded, I believe, under JFK, which just swipe of a pen. And in the course of all this time, all of this has happened and been uncovered. So I just want to hear, this is from a Substack called Echo Loves You, EKO, and I will share that. But this is just the beginning, okay? In a Treasury basement, fluorescent lights hummed around 4 young coders. Their screens cast blue light across government-issued desks, illuminating energy cans and agency badges as their algorithms crawled through decades of payment data. One number kept growing, 17 billion in redundant programs and counting. We're in. Akash Baba messaged the team. All of it.
It's insane. The money that they're talking about USAID, it's sent out. It's insane.
And this is a group of people aging from 16 and up that work with Elon.
Of course, there are people that speak binary.
And they're able to, their code has already mapped 3 subsystems. I'm going to get their names wrong, but Luke Ferrator's algorithms were tracing payment flows across agencies. Ethan Sheatran's analysis revealed patterns that career officials didn't even know existed. By dawn, they would understand more about the Treasury's operations and people who had worked there for decades. This wasn't a hack. This wasn't a breach. This was authorized disruption. Now, I highly, highly recommend you read this, or, I'm going to share it. I hope that you'll read it. But
you don't even
at the
have
end of the day, this proves a couple of things. Donald Trump hit the ground running because this starts at 2 a.m. on January 21st. By dawn, they had hacked into the Treasury's full list of departments. And where the Treasury, why they went there is because the Treasury is the heart where all the money goes. And the US AID, it just happens to be their first victim. They're tearing the sign down now. That department is closed. They went from 10,000 employees to 300. And this is absolutely crazy. And we all knew it was happening, right? But now these coders, and you're going to see CNN, one of the coders goes by Big Balls is his computer name. And they keep, if you wanted to get CNN to use those words over and over, this is what, I don't know if this is some big hack or what, like just some big, they're just laughing about this. But you guys, Donald Trump had to have been planning this since his second election in 2020, because this has taken years of code writing for these young people. Elon and these people have been having to keep this under wraps. They wouldn't have been sharing it, because had they shared it and it got wind, stuff would have maybe been erased. Another reason I think it sucks that Kash Patel has been put off another week, because I would be watching the infrastructure of the FBI files if it was me, to make sure stuff isn't getting erased there. But these men found, and they wrote these algorithms so just to find patterns. And they found so many patterns of reoccurring expenses, duplicate expenses, that these actually going out of the treasury, they're going across all these, and they're all tracing these payment flows. I'm sorry.
Well, they've got 17 million from USAID. So it's United States of America International Development, whatever.
Money that was sent to other countries.
For Chelsea Clinton's wedding.
Oh, the Clinton network got a lot.
Yeah, and Haiti, all that Haiti, that ripoff that
Clinton Foundation.
Yeah.
Trump, Bush, both Bushes have foundations it went to. Of
course. And I think that's been a presidential thing until Trump. It seems
how they got
that
their money.
USAID, okay, when Trump became president, they're looking into this, and the truth will come out. I don't know if this is true or not. But when he became president in 2016, all of a sudden these opposition media and research groups, like Media Matters and all this, all of a sudden got a huge flux of money. Politico, all that. And they were all anti-Trump. But also, at the same time, that's when they started, when the internet, social media things started clamping down on conservative speech. I'll bet when they end up looking into that deeper, it was by hook or by crook through USAID.
Oh, sorry.
You're okay.
Never on.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Ollie's having a rough day with technology.
Is not.
It's kicking her butt. But anyway, so I'll bet we look into this. So USAID has been used to subvert the democratic will of the people in Trump's first term. And so just for that, it should be torn down. And that's fine. Tear it down. Get rid of it.
This, not only that, but this department has been sending money overseas for programs like, the trans opera and trans surgeries. Now, keep in mind, the money that's going to these countries, these countries did not want this there. It is not part of their culture. And yet this is tapped to the CIA's ability to go in and change governments and pick leaders. This is such a deep foxhole, folks, that they said there's one reoccurring thing they kept coming up with during this time: $17 billion. $17 billion in redundant programs, meaning they're constant throughout all these departments. And that is your money. And now the press is trying to make it seem like we didn't elect Elon Musk. Well, no kidding. We didn't elect any of the bureaucrats who've been sending this money. But this is our money, and they're trying to act like Elon's the jerk because he just pulled the sheet up and showed you what was under the bed. Now he's the jerk, and the press is saying the press is bought and paid for, folks.
Yeah.
As we already knew, but we didn't know how. It's in these special programs in these other countries that don't believe in more than two genders. Their faith is a Muslim country, for example, and they barely let women do anything, let alone let people be outwardly gay without their lives being at stake. And our government is putting in gay operas and transgender surgeries. And we wonder why these countries hate us.
Well, it's not just that, but every country USAID gets involved in has worse economic outcomes every time. They don't grow by themselves. It's what is it? Tom's Shoes? Is it Tom's Shoes would donate shoes in Africa and it destroyed their cobblers. And so, don't do things like that. But anyways, it can if they used taxpayer money to subvert, for all you Democrats out there, to subvert the democratic will of the people, would that be considered an act of rebellion? Much, I don't know.
What if this money went to pay missionaries to go and convert all the Muslims in these countries to Christianity? How would the left feel about that?
Oh, well, I mean, you want to see some explosions, but
and then look how they're acting and the violent rhetoric they're saying.
Oh yeah.
Which we need to go after them, and we should all be. I mean, we have protesters up at Utah State Capitol right now, or this afternoon, all week, because of this. Well, what are you angry about? You guys just learned.
You found out you've been getting ripped off.
That you got ripped off, and we all have been ripped off. So what? You want to turn a blind eye because you so badly think U.S. aid needs to stay in business?
I will tell you this. Two friends of mine that are girls that were vehemently anti-Trump after 2016, but they're both very intelligent women. But they're intelligent, but they were anti-Trump. They thought, and they were, you can imagine that our discussions were about my weird politics and their belief that the government is good. Right now, the words coming out of the mouth of both these two girls, and they do not know each other, is they want to confiscate all the wealth of all the politicians, especially the Clintons.
The Clintons after finding out good in this.
After finding out everything that came out of this, and they're both previous Democrats,
probably big fans of Hillary too.
Yeah, both voted for Hillary in 2016, and both of them are up in arms about this. And they're making social media posts that that kind of make me go, "Whoa, easy there, Tiger." And I'm a radical, and they're fired up.
I'm seeing, if you're on X, I think you're seeing either people's heads explode or Elon Musk getting into detail about this. Now, I'm not going to say this Substack is absolutely true. It's written superbly, and life is stranger than fiction. So right now, I'm not sure. But the idea that even through, this has gone back far enough, even through Butler, Pennsylvania, when Trump was shot, even through all of this last few months leading up to the election, there were these teenagers with Elon Musk and a number of others writing this code for this specific reason, to dissect. And they've said now, we're going to go after the IRS next. And we're going to go after the Postal Service. And we will go into the military, into the Pentagon, because this algorithm works in such a way, and it's a protected, invented algorithm to track patterns, to track all kinds of things. It's amazing.
You lefties should support this. I mean, if you want the single payer health care, if you want any of that stuff, we've got to trim the government fat. Right. If you want any of that.
I mean,
what it's telling me is it's time to have a soft revolution. Like,
I think
I dare say
we have one based on the election.
Kind of, but I dare say everyone, and this hurts me to say, but you need to have a cold, hard look at your representative on the state and the federal level. And I almost say we need to spend a couple of terms tossing incumbents. And I love Celeste. She messaged me the other day. It's fantastic to be able to communicate with her as to what's going on real time. I think she's an honest and real person, but I think all politicians have gotten too long in the tooth and too comfortable, and we need to start washing them out. And also I'd make it so that their office, what do you call them? Office help, office, whatever, the interns and all that.
The bureaucrats?
No, I don't know if I'd call them bureaucrats.
Are they elected?
No, but you know, I think that there should be a limit on that. Now, there's a lot of interns from the colleges that are there, which is way cool. Celeste got an intern from upstate New York.
Right.
I'm not going to bust any names out. Awesome young lady. She's studying to be a dirt doctor like Celeste, and she had an opportunity to intern, and she sought an opportunity to intern with Celeste so that she could be close to Celeste for the dirt doctorism or the soil science
staff. I mean, it would be
they're interns.
Yeah, but they're Senate and rep staff because they're paid, I believe.
But not all of them.
They are interns for college credit.
The interns, one of the interns was paid. He was from Utah State. But the young lady from upstate New York, she was not paid yet. But we need to start washing out DC. I mean, it seems like all the money and power goes there. I mean, when I was there in DC, you look around and every business that is seeking to, take a little bit of the purse is all there. And it just shows you that
we learned.
We've got to rein this in.
Guys, this is just the beginning. This is the first department. This is the first department. We're 18 days in. 18 days. This was started at 2 a.m. on January 21st. This is what's got me so excited that Trump went to how many balls and how many speeches and how many executive orders that day. And Elon Musk was a lot of those things.
And in the background, there's
at midnight,
all these tweens.
they hit the books and they start the plan of uncovering what's been happening to your money, to my money, to this country,
to
and
our
how
wealth.
We have been funding our demise. We keep saying this over and over. But not only that, we've been funding the demise of many nations in the name of what?
Making enemies.
Of woke
it's
religion.
Did you see? Okay, here's this controversial. And
hi, Fred.
Hi, Fred.
Hi,
how's
Chad.
it going? Okay, Konstantin Kisin from
Jeff.
Trigonometry was on talking with, he was doing a review of when Tucker Carlson and Pierce Morgan did that chat. They were in Jerusalem. And Tucker pointed out that World War II was the great defense of liberty. And in the end of that, Great Britain lost all its liberty. And Pierce says, well, we went to fight for Poland. And Tucker says, how did that go? And Konstantin's doing the review, and I really want to, if I was to ask him, I'd say, why didn't you approach what he said? Because what he said is Poland was lost. And it was lost to the USSR after that, handed over by, the Allies, because Uncle Joe was one of our allies, and he was so much worse than Adolf was. He was so much worse. You're not allowed to say that.
Stalin.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Stalin
killed, 30 times more than Hitler, and Mao 30 times more than Stalin. But we don't talk about.
I don't know if it's 30 times more.
I'm being rough estimates here.
I would say it's 4 times more. If I was to throw an estimate out, maybe 3 times more. But still Pol Pot carries the torch because he killed 1/3 of his population, and his reasons for it were insane. But anyways, and I way respect Konstantin Kisin. I think he's one of the best communicators of our time. He is a hard fighter for the West, but what he fails and what all these people fail to recognize is that while you're fighting for the West, don't fight for these things that are working against us, such as departments of our government that go around the world making enemies and destroying the wealth of the world so that their neoliberal project can continue to grow. I think globalism without the corruption in it might be plausible, but it's too corrupt right now. And that's why it's being torn down. That's why we don't like it, because it wasn't done honestly and fairly, and it wasn't done in a manner that makes it so that the lower people on the rungs in the U.S. can survive it.
It doesn't respect the cultures of which are that make it this world up. I mean, you cannot expect a culture of Muslims to fall into the same trap of woke culture of America because it goes against everything they believe in. And who are we to tell them to change? Just like who are they to tell us to change? Regardless of what nation you're in, when you have a culture of people that have built a world and a life and a country, what are we doing? What are we doing to them? Thousands of taxpayer dollars. No wonder they hate us.
Well, there was also at the end of World War I, there was a something King Commission, King someone commission, went around the Middle East asking all the Middle East, because the Ottoman Empire fell. So the Middle East was homeless. And back then we seemed to think that all these little countries had to have a patron. Who do you want to be your ruler? And almost to a T, all of them, Lebanon, Syria, Iraq, Iran, all of them, everything from the Ottoman Empire said, we want the U.S. We have broken that trust with all those people now. None of them want us there. None of them trust us.
This is about oil and energy and power.
Couldn't there be an honest way to go about it, though?
Absolutely. There could be.
I mean, I agree. We need this
decades
stuff.
and decades and decades of absolute corruption. And we ask ourselves, how do presidents leave the White House multimillionaires? It's not just paid gigs where they get to go talk, which, by the way, Joe Biden just signed with an agent. He probably doesn't know that, but he just signed with an agent.
Is he gonna
go and do talks? Who knows?
We got a 7-minute talk from Joe Biden at 9 a.m. Who
wants to pay for that? You want how much? $500,000 for 7 minutes? That's all you get.
And then he's going to be in the middle of his talk and he's going to go cross-eyed. And he's packing Depends.
Fred says, I want my money back. I wonder how much of that money, all that money is mine. Jeff, hi, Jeff. He said they had really special programs for your money, Fred.
What was that? What was that lady's? Heidi Fleiss. Fred, your money went to Heidi Fleiss.
Chad Grady Saunders says staff. I think he was trying to tell you the word.
Yeah, staff, but they are staff, but they're interns, and you got the chief. And I dig Celeste chief of staff. I would like to get to know our senator's stuff back there, but he's notoriously hard to get a hold of. But Celeste
is brand new. She's only been in.
I know she hasn't been poisoned yet.
In a few months, and I'm proud of her.
Very proud of her. Even though I don't agree with her on everything, she's smart, she's sharp, she's driven, she's dedicated, she's
transparent, at least,
and
especially on things you disagree
and
about.
You guys, and seriously, she will tell me honestly to my face, I signed this that you disagree with, and this is why I did it. And she will tell me straight up, and I can't argue with that. And I promise you, everyone needs to know this now. I talk a lot, and everybody else is smarter than me. So just know that.
Thank you for that. So,
all right. So Fred says, gosh dang it.
All the federal employees who are losing and will lose their job due to this misuse of funds built huge, really nice houses on the sand.
Yes.
And they've been living on the bribe. And again, here's what I wanted. For any federal employees that know this was happening, shame, for starters, shame. And I hope there's jail time, because any one of you who take money, especially people like I'm responsible for a 501c3 where I am lucky enough and to get donations that go towards the group that I'm a part of. Spending that money is always difficult. And it always takes not just me, but a group of people to make that decision, because it is a trust that someone donates that money to you. Mm-hmm. This is on a level times 10. This is a gun to your head money taken from you for fear of imprisonment. And they don't care how they spend it. They don't care what you think of how they spend it. They had $10,000 subscriptions to Politico they were paying for, folks. Politico.
Stalin
50 million.
Stalin 50 million. Mao 70. And those numbers may be bigger than that. Those are very conservative.
I've heard 100 million at least with Mao.
With Mao, maybe. You know, but Mao, of course, had more people to kill. So, you know.
That's true.
Jeff says, and while there may be laws against some things, there are only laws, no punishments. 100%, they'll get away with it. Jordan, hey, how you doing? He says,
hi, Jordan.
Yo, hey, guys, I am more liberty approach. The U.S. needs to get out of wars. These wars are bankrupting us. 100%, Jordan.
We're on the same page, sir.
Both established parties are always for the military-industrial complex. We need a government that is transparent. 100%.
No, the Pentagon is coming, and that the Pentagon with these new algorithms and the way they're looking, what they're going to uncover there. We as Americans who support our best patriots and our veterans and our soldiers and all of that, we have to be prepared to look at that and go, yikes, because I'm willing to bet money. There is so much money getting funded through the military industrial complex, and it's not getting to soldiers. It's not getting to a better fight on the ground, and it's not making us stronger like we think. It's going into contractors' pockets.
Yep.
It's going into
ex-presidents, brothers' pockets.
ex-senators.
I still think Ukraine
lobbyists.
is money laundering back to the Bidens. You have to show me proof it is not. Fred says Celeste is winning me over. Yes, from the first time I interviewed her, I like her. She's just real.
She's the most real representative. Her and Tim Burchett, I'm telling you, Tim, he's a great follow.
We're supposed to have
on
an
Twitter
interview with him soon. Celeste,
X, yeah.
She says she's setting it up, and I believe her.
His X follow, he gets out of committee and goes straight on X live. Says, well, in fact, he was in the drone committee, I think yesterday. He says, there are so much problems with the drones. There's no federal regulation. You can't shoot them out of the sky. And now they're under the FAA. But here's the thing. If we don't have regulation, he says, how do you know that a smart bomb's not on one of them? Or like David loves is an idea of having an armed drone. I mean, how do you know these things aren't on them? And he says it's only a matter of time before one of them gets sucked into an engine or something, and you lose hundreds of lives. And then they're going to talk about it. Plus, he says if we don't get it regulated, and the AI that's along with that, and AI that was talking about too in one of his committees, China is getting leaps and bounds ahead of us.
Well, they're not getting ahead of us.
Stuck in committees.
They're doing a different parallel on the side. The difference is China. Now, I'll bet DARPA is working on AI that makes Grok look like a, playground. That Chinese one, the Swim With Me or whatever, has a picture of a whale on it. It's not written to the precision, so it's faster.
Guys, when you have a communist government or a dictator, you don't have to go through the red tape that you have to go through in a republic. That's just, they can invent anything they want.
No, they copy everything they want. And that's how they're doing it. So anyways, we need to.
I have to get off of something really fast. My coat, I'm sitting on it really weird.
Okay.
Okay,
anyways,
sorry.
She was sitting there wiggling. I thought
wardrobe malfunction.
Thought maybe the roids were getting her. Anyways, Dave says 80 million.
There's no roids here, people.
Dave says 80 million to subscribers. Jordan Lott says bribery should be illegal, 100%. Fred says 25% of political income was subscriptions for federal employees, and they were paying subscriptions at higher levels than the subscription would cost. It was insane. Dave says, what about Cox, brother? He gets money from his campaigns, according to the internet. And that's something I think honestly every governor needs to be looked into, whether you like them or
Politicians, period.
Yep, everything. And not just politicians, anything. We might be entering a new age where this AI and internet and 22-year-old programmers are going to be the great exposers. There will be no more secrets. It's going to be dangerous. It's going to get ugly.
Campaign laws are written out in just a way that it's actually dumb if you're running a campaign and you don't hire a family member, because you have all these options and how you can spend your money. Why not spend it in-house? Have your spouse running this, and this, and give them a paycheck. It's like running a business. Give your children a job. There are ways to make your child come out of the gate swinging when they turn 18, because there's tax laws. we have to get to the bottom of this, because we can't blame people for using the laws written, but they're written in order to gain the system
They've just got to
for
quit
certain
taxing
people.
us.
And yes, I would love it if we got rid of the IRS.
What if the overtime tax went away?
That's on the chopping block. So is the tip tax, which would help me, and the overtime for you. But guys, somebody tell me, because what I read today, and I asked you to look it up to see, because the two sources I looked up said it's true, that Trump signed an executive order to exit us from the UN.
Yeah, I watched that video that you sent me that it said, and it was the Sky News Australia.
Yes.
And it was just leftists freaking out, and all of them, like all the leftists, the actors and actresses. I have 4 kids, and one of them's bi, and one of them's this, and the other one's that. None of them are normal. That sounds to me like you were working real hard to fit in your leftist bubble. And
okay, did we leave the UN or not?
Your kids, I don't know.
Because I'm fine with it.
UN, fine with it.
I'd like to not have the United States be part of the UN. I think the people who run the UN right now are countries that do not agree with us or have our interests at heart, and they actually commit crimes against people every single day in their own countries.
What about the UN supporting the immigrant push coming up here that went on for the last 4 years? The UN was putting out pamphlets and aid centers to help them get across. We should honestly, we should fine the UN for that. You want us to stay in? All right, here's what it'll cost you.
How much of USAID was financed to the UN?
I'd
be curious, because you think about it, guys. How many times has products been sent to other countries in a disaster with USAID on it? And then we find out that the people in need aren't even getting it. It's there for show.
The strong men, the poor people in this country are taxed to feed the wealthy people in a poor country. Okay, so Chad says we need leaders from the ground up that won't jerk us around. 100%, Chad, you're on point. David says freedom cannot be stifled from what if. Fred says it's time to become honest. What?
I know, right?
David says, I doubt it. Clickbait. That's talking about the UN. He says, let China have the UN.
Well, I mean,
all this 100%. I'm game for it. I love it. I love the news coming out. I love watching the leftist head explode. What about Trump saying that the U.S. is going to take over Gaza, going to build them houses, make the place pretty and shiny and everything else? I'm game. I don't know how I feel about that.
I don't know that he wants to run it as a United States territory, but he's saying get people engaged from outside sources and turn it into something.
Not what he sounded like. He said U.S. is going to take responsibility
of getting it going
for Gaza. So maybe he'll build a few sandals, a couple Trump towers.
They want it to look like Dubai and make it a beautiful.
Hey, you know what?
Step
that's
in the Middle East.
That's one way to build peace, is make Gaza productive and economic, whatever.
But I don't want our soldiers there.
No.
And I think that this should be something that all of the Middle East maybe puts money into. If you make a healthy, safe Gaza, then the Middle East stays safe. Well, I mean, look at Dubai. Look at other
I think the Middle
cities.
East like having that as... You know what? You look better if you go out clubbing one night if you take one ugly friend.
I don't know where you're going with that, but
Gaza's the Middle East ugly friend.
Israel has some beautiful cities that are pretty incredible, and I think that is what Trump is saying. I think he was spouting.
I think Trump just says stuff right now to see how the rhetoric of the left will be.
Fred, he says, I hesitate.
I'm hesitant about Gaza. But I feel like Trump is playing chess with that one.
I think so too. And it got on the news every second. And I mean, Benji, whatever, Netanyahu was in there. And I'm sure it was a surprise to him for him to say, it'll be ours. But what I think he meant to say was like, let's take it back and let's build a place worthy of people that could live there. Because right now it's in shambles. I mean, you go to ruins across this country and they're better, supported than the Gaza Strip. The thing is, it's a terrifying place, both for the Israelis and it's a horrendous place for the Palestinians.
I don't know.
Jeff says Gaza will become the newest and biggest terror target in the Middle East.
I think that would happen. I don't know. But anyways, we only have a few minutes left, and I've got to bring up my favorite thing of the week. Last weekend, the DNC elected its 2025 officers.
I didn't even know they were having their convention, so that was a shocker to me.
Everyone should, right after this show, not during it, please, go onto YouTube and watch it on either the Babylon Bee, Asmongold, find any of them where they're going to kind of pick it apart with you. I'm going to hit some of the highlights. I'm not going to play any of the videos because that's high-tech stuff. And let's face it, guys, if you guys came here for high-tech stuff, you'd be real disappointed. They started off with the land acknowledgement in Native American. And
you can't even make this up. You guys just have to go see it. We don't have any clips, huh?
No, because I don't know how to get them to play on there. We've tried. It doesn't work. And there's something I've got to learn to do.
Was it on Facebook or X that you shared?
I shared it with you on YouTube.
Oh, YouTube. Okay, go to YouTube and look up DNC 2025.
Yes. Okay. Chad says the outgoing chair explaining the gender identity, explaining the parity of who can run for vice chair. The chair was not, but they had to have equal numbers, men and women, run for vice chair in this. And he was getting confused. He's like, okay, so if we have one woman, and then at every vote, they had to count people out. So they had to.
It was so confusing.
If a woman got 0 votes, they had to kick a guy out with her.
Yeah.
Just to, and
they have learned nothing. They have learned nothing from this last election, and they made a mockery of themselves with their DEI explosion.
All the black women are the one that gets up there just sings soul. We shall over. That was her whole spiel to become chair, was her singing soulfully twice. And it was fantastic. And it
sounded like she was talking like she was a slave in this country.
I know.
And my favorite part was who won at the end.
Well, we'll get to that. But and then in the middle, they stopped to have a line dance. Intermission, I guess. And it's insane. Insane.
You got to say who won.
Oh, we're going to go to that. So we'll just move right on to that. Okay. So the chair who won is Ken Martin. He's from Minnesota. He's like what color
is he though?
He's a white guy.
White guy. And who was the second guy who won?
Oh, well, I've got to break down how they do their vice chairs because they have to have multiple vice chairs so they can get women in there and all the different everything. But anyways, so Ken Martin, he's from Minnesota. He's like the Democrat farm commissioner there or something for the Democrat Party, Minnesota. Vice chair for civic engagement and voter participation is Raina Walters Morgan. All right. Another white lady. Vice chair. Now they have 3 vice chairs. Artie Blanco, which if I remember, Artie Blanco is kind of the sanest of everyone there. Malcolm Kenyatta and David Hogg.
Y'all know David Hogg?
Our friend. Yeah.
He got up and gave probably the best speech, I think. One of the best ones.
Well, he did the one that they really should pay attention to because the Democrat Party they lost all young men.
The youth.
They lost all young men. And what they don't understand is they've lost young men because of their DEI push leaves young men out of the
which was nothing but all their speeches were DEI speeches. It was laughable. And you had to have someone they were literally telling them why I'm a black woman, or I'm a gay man, or I'm this and that. And you're like, what are you going to do for the party? Nobody cares.
First non-binary to run for Democrat Party.
It was like they were listing their DEI accomplishments, but are literally being born.
Ken Martin is probably a logical choice for him. I mean, but he did double down when asked. And also MSNBC kind of ran it. And so MSNBC
that's weird.
Kicked it off with who thinks Trump won because of racism, like a voice vote. And I'm like, are you guys, they are retarded. And so they're just themselves to lose again. They don't understand. And everyone, Katie Adams Anderton, she's the Utah Democrat chair, friend on the show. She's been on the show multiple times. She's running for secretary of the Utah Democrat Party, and I hope she gets it, and I support her in that.
When is their convention?
I don't know. I need to ask her more. I told her to come on the show.
I'm surprised that she decided to go for the state party position.
I know.
I think
I kind of thought she was
apprehensive.
backing out, but I don't know. I think she still wants, and I'm hoping right now, the Democrat Party is thirsting for some common sense.
She's got great common sense.
Yeah. But one thing she didn't have is she still doesn't think that the
I almost said for a Democrat, which would be rude. It's not.
That would be rude.
She's a neat lady.
She is. She's an awesome lady. But the DEI push is what lost them at least a large percentage.
That and the whole non-democracy thing where they implanted their nominee rather than democratically elected them.
I still want to see a poll that comes out and says which one is worse, which one cost them the most. But it is wild. If you guys get the chance, go and watch it. Chad is on board. He's saying go and watch it. It's
so Chad says
it's hands down the funniest thing you'll watch all week.
Chad says the outgoing chair explaining the gender identity is priceless.
Yes.
Fred says the only time the Palestinians have advanced forward in a positive way, it has been the direct result of terrorism from the Palestinians. Chad is from Washington. Hi, Chad. And he says a good friend of mine from Washington State was a delegate, and the videos and pictures he posted were hilarious. Honestly, you guys, this is stranger than fiction. Again, you can't believe you're watching a legitimate organization who has held power in this country for either in the House, in the Senate, or in the presidency. It was like watching a clown show.
They have been taken over by the woke mind virus. Taken over like one of them alien movies where the worm comes to Earth and gets in brains. If they played it on Saturday Night Live, you'd have thought it was.
That's exactly what I thought.
Deal.
I thought
I thought it was a joke.
Is it a parody? Because it was so stupid. It was so I can't. This is why when David Hogg is making the most sense in a speech, you know it's.
Well, David Hogg has been practicing speeching a lot. We saw when he spoke with Spike, when he had that debate with Spike. He's done better. He did fairly well, but his message, the anti-gun message. I hope that continues to be a losing message, and I will fight to make it a losing message.
O'Malley wants to know how we watch that crap. I'm so impressed.
O'Malley,
we watch it because we have to.
No, I watched it, and I've watched it every day through different sources because it's funny.
It's very funny.
It is.
I
am on the ground. If you see me walking around with headphones on and laughing, know that I'm playing that in my pocket because it is funny. When that lady starts singing, that's her whole campaign spiel. Everyone else gets up there and, I'm a black woman and you need to vote for me. And that lady says,
she says, I am a black woman. You need to pay attention to me. I am at the stage right now. And everyone's like, what? Where are we?
And you're
we are watching you. You're the one at the mic.
All you guys are black women. And then, but that one lady, she gets up there. There's something that's been on my mind the last couple of weeks. We shall, and just start singing.
It was crazy.
It's that uncomfortable funny. It is hilarious. It's like Napoleon Dynamite funny.
Yeah, it was very
like
unironically funny. And it was like they had 6 men and 6 women. You had to have the same.
The parody. And when he's trying to explain it, you can tell he doesn't get it. And he's like,
they got called out for getting it wrong a little bit, and they had to go over it again.
And
guys,
he's just like,
nuts.
He's like, thank God, after this, I don't have to do this ever again.
It reminds me of the Socialist Socialist
of USA convention in 2016.
The lady is just trying to get through. Excuse me.
Point of personal privilege.
Do not use gender.
Please do not use
to describe people. And then she's like, okay. And then the next guy's like, somebody is talking and I get distracted and I'm having anxiety. And they're like, okay, please stop talking.
Please don't clap.
It was like watching preschoolers try to have a real meeting. You guys, this could not be real. Now, we have our state convention coming up in May on the 17th, which... I mean, it always has its own drama and excitement and even boring times and all of that. But if our convention was ran this way, no one would be a delegate. The party would implode.
It's hilarious.
Let's just go for merit. I mean, one of the guys gave a pretty great speech.
I think
it was the non-binary guy. No, it wasn't him, because he was listing all of his credentials for why he needs to be up there, and it was a whole DEI, lust fest.
Oh, sorry.
It was insane. I couldn't believe what I was watching was real. I thought maybe Babylon Bee put it together at first.
Don't Walk Run does a good breakdown of it, which Don't Walk Run I think is tied with the Babylon Bee. But yeah, I've just gone Asmongold. I think did my favorite because he's very intelligent, but he's kind of deadpan when he does it. So it's not he's not purposely making fun of it, but he's making fun of it. O'Malley May says, how do you guys watch that crap? I'm so impressed. LOL.
She's talking about a hernia.
No, man. Yes, she's sporting a hernia right now. I've been on the phone with her a few times this week. I feel like belly laughing and anxiety is exactly what I don't need right now with a hernia.
Oh my gosh.
You're screwed if you ever get a hernia, Jared. You're a belly laughter too.
He accused me of having roids earlier.
I didn't accuse you.
You thought my moving around was because of my roids.
No, I was telling them to not think it was your roids.
Yeah, there's no roids.
That's what I kind of said.
You think a woman squirms, and that's what's her problem.
No, I didn't think that. No, I was telling them not to think that.
You were thinking that for them.
You remember Ace Ventura?
Of course.
And
we ask you a question. Of course.
She's like, anyways.
We need to just grow up and get an honest government and enjoy the things that make us laugh.
Witch hazel.
And nobody has roids, O'Malley. So just witch hazel.
So if Holly was to buy witch hazel, where do you get witch hazel at?
You can get it anywhere. Witch hazel is one of the oldest remedies ever. I used witch hazel when I was young to clean my face.
Where do you find it? Like
QVS
in a
Walmart.
store? Really? They have it in store? Okay.
Next to the hydrogen peroxide.
And is it just below the eye of Newt, or where are we talking? She makes her own witch hazel.
Of course you do.
And you'll make Holly a nice, gentle witch hazel.
I don't need it. I really don't. Yeah, Fred. There's endless reasons women might score. See, you went to roids. At least
I didn't.
Fred knows not to jump to that first.
I didn't go to roids.
Girl could be sitting on her coat.
I kept them from going to roids.
Okay, we already talked about this too long. You kept them from going because you were already there.
I'm telling you.
I know.
But no, you guys. If you're not fighting a hernia, you should go watch this. It is fun, and I'll tell you right now. You're killing me, Smalls. We have a guest to introduce pretty soon, don't we? And you've got to explain. You got the hot blisters. Anyways,
Okay, I don't want any more of this. You're turning our show to crap, literally.
But it does make you feel better. Although I'm not a Republican, that is the party I've chosen to support right now until the pendulum gets to its peak and they go stupid again.
I just don't understand why they learned nothing.
The Democrat Party, they are Icarus, 100%.
Look
they
at them.
Flew too close to this. And the USAID may be a reason, because the USAID, all this support they've been getting, right now I'm thinking, oh my gosh, all that support the Democrats have had for 20 years since Clinton is false. It's fake support.
It's just like the money laundering we're seeing in Ukraine. And I guarantee, let's dive into the Pentagon, because I do want to dive into the IRS too, but with this algorithm and with this,
I can't wait. I think this will be a
pinpoint accuracy where they're finding just patterns. These patterns that just are popping out of the screen at them of constant spending for the same stuff in all these different departments, going to the same bank accounts, or might be going to bank accounts named something different, but the Clinton Foundation was in there.
It jumps from foundation to foundation.
Why do foundations need your tax dollars? It's just like the Planned Parenthood thing. Everybody in a 501c3 or any foundation, their job is to raise money from donors. The federal government should not be throwing money at foundations. They just shouldn't. I'm ready to say done with all of them.
Fred says, Holly, how did you start talking about roids on the show? O'Malley May says, hey, the human body is a thing, Holly. Don't be embarrassed. And she will give you a bottle of witch hazel for cleaning your face.
I've got a better product now. I used to use witch hazel back in the day, but I've got a great product now. And
who has more members of the swamp, Republican or Democrat? They both have members, but just listen to who balls, I imagine is what I meant, the most over USAID.
Jeff, I agree with you.
That is a tough one, isn't it?
And this is going to be the hard part. As I am a Republican, I am here for it. I am ready to see who on my side is just as dirty as the people on the other side, because this problem has been in our government, and you said it's been in our government since Kennedy. Look how many people have profited because of it. And both sides have been in power. The Bushes.
Yeah, that's the thing. I mean, right now's the time for people who truly care about the well-being of this nation, like myself, to join the party and make it what you want out of it. So we need people to join we need logical Democrats to join the Democrat Party and make it honest. And we need logical and honest Republicans to join the Republican Party and make it honest. Make it what you want to see. Make it your vision. I would love to see a logical progressive party in the United States. And I'd like to see probably an honest and logical conservative party. Or
here's the thing though, there's a certain type of person, and this is a good or bad, take it however, that runs for these offices. And the higher up they go requires somebody that has that drive and that desire. And they have good intentions. I'm sure all of them do at the start. But I wonder, like the people that really want that absolute power, it's hard for people who have good intentions to stay good in DC, I bet. In the state, I bet. Because we have so many other things, foundations and lobbyists and parties and all these things that you've got to play ball. And it's hard. You got to know what your North Star is, of course. But I wonder how many people are going to get wrapped up in this who were just doing what they were taught by their predecessor.
Has our politicians ever been honest?
It's a good question. How will we ever know?
I mean, remember Thomas Jefferson, like right out the gate, bought Louisiana from Napoleon, so Napoleon could wage war on Europe.
This thing is war is hell. We need to be done with it.
Yes.
We need to stay out of it. America needs to fix itself.
Well, we need to go back to a small government. Honestly, our federal government should be inconsequential for the average citizen's life. Inconsequential.
I wonder how we're going to get rid of the IRS.
I don't know. I mean,
and Fred,
I
power
can think
is
of a few ways.
intoxicating, and it is because we are human. We're perfectly imperfect.
I like trebuchets. Trebuchet sounds. We could put like a swing set.
Are you speaking French again?
On the trebuchet for the IRS, and they could go for a swing ride and into the ocean. Or
will you talk about our guest that we have on tonight?
Okay, yes, we've got a guest who's coming on here in 5 minutes. Okay. O'Malley May says you have to try her regimen. It's good stuff.
Okay. We got it.
Fred says power's intoxicating. O'Malley May says send some with me. Okay, so the guest we have coming on is a Utah boy who went over to Ukraine to fight the good fight against Russia. And he's coming on. Dave is a friend of his. They were in the unit, he was in Dave's unit with him. And I'm kind of interested in what happened to him when he went over there, because he was still a part of the Air Guard over here.
I'm curious how, Dave, maybe you know, but how does someone from our military get to go fight in a war in another country?
Yes. Well, it sounds like he had to go on to IRR for it, but we'll ask him that. But I'm also...
What is that?
Inactive Ready Reserve.
Okay.
I'm also kind of wondering the condition of things over there. Is it? I don't think. I mean, honestly, my opinion, I don't see a way for Ukraine to win on its own. And I don't see a way for all the nations to keep pouring money at it.
No.
So either other nations must get involved, or it's a doomed prospect. And hopefully
they need to come to the table.
Hopefully new administrations popping up around the world can cause a peace to break out. But both sides will have to give up some stuff. Ukraine, I think, will lose land, which is probably the most optimal thing for them, is to just lose land. They've already lost a generation of young men. But I think Russia at that point, Poland, I would say Poland, France, Germany, all of them need to have a joint base in the Ukraine as a declaration of no more.
Let's just get them both to the table to have these peace talks and get our funding out of there, for one.
What would you mean? Quit laundering money to the Bidens?
I just heard on another show that I listened to a list of people who have fallen out of windows, mysteriously drowned with 2 gunshots in their head, committing suicide. And another guy suicide in a hotel room where he wrote the note, but it's not in his handwriting.
He typed the note.
But all of these are people who have either talked badly about Vladimir Putin or Vladimir's handling of the war. I don't think it's both of them are run by dictators.
Both Vladimirs have executed people who spoken out against them.
Both dictators. There's no elections, especially Ukraine hasn't done an election at all.
No.
And Putin won by 96%. And all the list of people that have died sound like that made up the 4% that voted against him.
What about the last Mexico election, where like 32 people running for office were off? All right, let's see if Troy's there.
You didn't even say his name when you were given this spiel. We need to introduce him.
Well, I will when I bring him on. All right, we'll see if he's here and ready.
We know his name is Troy, and we know David has set his.
We're probably not going to be giving out his last name.
And we thank you, David. And we also have a huge time difference between here and Ukraine.
Yeah, he's in Ukraine. He's like,
so
it's like 20 miles from the front lines.
Oh, you're not going to give his last name, but you're going to give his location.
Yeah, he's in Ukraine.
20 miles.
I don't want to give his last name.
Let's drop a pin.
Yeah, Troy.
Jeff says instead of Trump taking over Gaza. How about Ukraine? I don't want either. I don't know that we want to be in Russia's backyard, nor do I think Putin would ever allow it, which is one of the reasons even the thought of Ukraine being in NATO causes great heartache in Vladimir Putin's head. Hi, Mom.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I'm not comfortable with taking stuff over. Okay, Troy's not ready just yet, so we'll keep chatting until he is, and then I guess when he pops on, he'll pop on.
So I was able to speak with Bridger a little bit, Bridger Bolander, who will be a guest in the coming weeks. Getting these folks to be on is extremely difficult because they are in session, and Bridger's running a bill currently, and so we'll keep you updated on that.
Yes. All right, Troy, can you hear us? He says he's ready, but we are talking to almost the exact opposite side of the northern hemisphere.
The world is flat, I thought.
Almost the exact opposite side of the Arctic. The Arctic Circle.
Let's see. Testing 1, 2, 3. Am I here?
We can hear you.
Yep,
yes.
We can hear you.
Okay.
All right.
I say greetings early morning here in Kharkiv, Ukraine.
Yeah, you woke up. It's like 3 a.m, right?
The first round, and now it's 4 a.m. So a little
4
adjustment on the schedule. Let me hear.
Okay. Well, thank you for joining us tonight. Well, do you want to give us an introduction of yourself and what you're doing over there?
Yeah, I should have brought some props. They're all out in the vehicle and with the units. So I'm Troy Smothers, resident of Pleasant Grove, Utah. And the 2004 or 2005 timeframe, I served in the United States Marine Corps, and our sister country is at that time was Ukraine. So during our summer annual training, I would come over as a younger Marine, and we would train the Ukrainians in infantry tactics so that they could defend themselves against this very scenario. Our adversary at that time, and in all of our efforts, was always Russia. And now I'm back as a older Marine, and just keeping those, helping these Ukrainians maintain their freedom.
Are you an active Marine, or are you on a reserve? Are you still in service?
Well, no, I'm not in the service. So this is on my own time and own dime there. But it's when you say Marine, there's just a terminology we use in the Marine Corps. Once a Marine, always a Marine. So yeah, we just, it's more of a breed than it is a branch. So it's just a terminology.
Do they pay you to come over and help?
No, I'm fortunate. I'm all in. It's on my own time, my own dime. So no, it's here for, I'm here for the Ukrainian people, and but there's no contract. So that's a great question. And there are people who sign contracts, and you can come over and join the Ukrainian military and be paid. But no, I'm not that's not my approach. I'm just coming over as a volunteer and doing a particular project that's been extremely successful, and then I'll go home and regroup.
Do you get to take photos and report anything, or do you kind of keep everything on the down low? Like, how are you protected, and what happens if something, I mean, it sounds crazy to me that one of ours is over there helping. And I love that you're doing that, because you obviously believe in it. You probably love the people and your experience with them early on. But I mean, your safety and all of that, it's your dime. Do you have protection? Are you on a barrack? Are you integrated with their service, or are you on the outside driving in? This is
A great
fascinating to
question.
me.
So the answer is yes to all the above. It just depends on the time frame. So I actually I'm in Kharkiv, and as you know, Kharkiv was the second most populated city in Ukraine, and this particular area, the Russians have advanced to literally just approximately 18, 20 miles away from the
Oh my
city.
gosh.
So the proximity is quite close. And when I integrate, work with a unit, we work outside of an actual, combat theater where we're in there's knowledge transfer of the drone and the technology here. And but I do go on position with the teams from time to time to get them stood up, make sure that they're following the procedures, and also to document the process, because that documentation is what gives us opportunity to, if there is funding or if someone wants to contribute, an opportunity to get that funding by saying, hey, we're not only helping the Ukrainians, but we're boots on the ground, and here's the mission there.
Are you
What
sorry? Like a
what kind of
foundation?
financial support are you getting while you're over there? I imagine it's not cheap to go to another country and leave your family behind here, and I mean, you probably aren't given free housing or free food all the time. So what kind of financial support? How are you paying for that?
Well, that's a great question. I am fortunate. I do have some reserves, so I'm blessed that way. And the housing component is the least expensive, the lowest part of the budget. There's a lot of empty houses here in Kharkiv. Okay, so people, there is a great question. There is a network, and I'm in an apartment here that's empty, and it was just donated for the cause. I do pay what the rent value would be, just to help the person out who's no longer lives here. She left when Russia pushed forward, and is living elsewhere. But I pay this whole apartment. The market value is $100 a month, and so
Oh,
let's put it in perspective, right? Here's where it gets costly: is every drone that I launch currently the price is down to about $650. So that's where our expense is, and so yes, I do have a fair dollar amount that I've personally been out of pocket on this project. But again, we can always recreate wealth. You're not going to be able to recreate this time in history where I get to choose as a citizen of this wonderful world we live in, to stand and support the Ukrainian people who I've trained for this exact moment in time to defend themselves. And so this is where I'm supposed to be at this time.
do you work with a foundation or some place that actually provides money to like an organization? Because I would assume the government is the ones who would be reimbursing you for these drone trips or whatever, because you're helping their side. But you kind of mentioned that you get donations.
I've had some donations here and there, but I totally agree. So we have our Western perspective of what warfare looks like, the acquisitions piece. But please understand that this war is being fought literally by who has the best Instagram, Telegram, social media presence, and can get donation dollars there, because the acquisitions piece for the Ukrainian military is so much different than what I experienced when I was in the Marine Corps, or I finished with the Utah National Guard. And so the idea of a unit having to go to social media and fundraise for supplies, kits, something unique, is a concept that I still have to get my head wrapped around. So there's the process of getting drones now is pretty streamlined. So most units can get a 7-inch drone or a 10-inch drone. is a system it's established now. But when I came in last summer and we were introducing the fiber drone, the concept of flying a drone over a cable about the size of a fishing line. There was no budget, there was no allocation for this. And so units that had a great social media presence could say, hey, this is the newest and greatest. They could get supplies. I was fortunate that I came in with a lot of equipment. I probably $45,000 worth of equipment at that time. And I was able to leave with each unit enough to get started. So not only would I train them, but I would leave them with kit so that they could see, how to build it, how to adapt their traditional drones to a fiber drone, and to have that weapon that system.
Yeah, we're looking at. This is going to be a lot like the Civil War was, or the Russo-Japanese War, where we're seeing a new type of warfare roll out that's probably going to be studied and going to be the platform of the next wars to come.
Yeah, you absolutely nailed it. Your description of what you're saying is I've heard it referenced many ways, not as well as what you just said, but where this is the game changer in my terminology. But you're not pinning this genie back in the bottle. Are they going to be able, are there things to defeat it? Counter drone measures, of course, every 2 months, there's something new here that's effective. But the price point of being able to take a $500 drone, put an additional approximately Alibaba price, $100 worth of fiber optic cable on there, and I can now, plus a munition. So that is, everywhere here on the battlefield. And I can go defeat a multi-million-dollar electronic warfare system that's supposed to be impenetrable by this $1,000 kit is it's a game changer, that's for sure. And that's why I'm here aggressively teaching and
training. Where did our 300 billion go that the United States government has sent over, they believe? I mean, it's not getting in the hands of soldiers, I guess, the technology and all of that, if they're having to fundraise in their own little platoons or whatever.
That's a great question. I want to be very clear, and as a taxpayer, again, my only loyalty is to my country, the USA. Okay. And so I love that, we have Elon coming in and Trump coming in doing what we're doing there to make sure that, our country's strong, because we got to be strong in order to exist. we are the beacon of light and of this world as far as the nation goes. But far as dollars, though, that equipment is out here. I do see the nice tanks. I do see the weapon systems and the countermeasures and different stuff. This is just a part of an acquisitions piece that is slow to adapt. And so when you got a guy like me knocking on the door with these units saying, hey, I've got this, this fiber drone, it was just something that they're now, again, slowly being able to get a line item attached so that they can go out and buy this particular kit. Believe it or not, the corruption component is they're so concerned about the appearance of corruption that the commanders of these units just don't say, yeah, I'll allocate this much dollars for Troy to go and buy a bunch of kit on Alibaba, because it could appear that he's embezzling money. So if anything, with the units I'm working with, they are very transparent, and I've never seen any fraud at the lower levels. Now, again, guys, I want to be clear. I'm working with guys who live here in Kharkiv. They get in their vehicles early in the morning because we infill before light, and they leave and they go fight, 15 miles, 20 miles away from here, and do their missions during daylight hours, wait till dark, and then exfil there. And
this kind of warfare is called irregular home defense. This is much the same warfare that we fought in the Revolutionary War, that the Viet Cong fought in Vietnam, that the French fought in World War II and World War One. You
So
know,
does the other side just not bomb at night and
Oh, they bomb at night. Unfortunately, I'll send you some pictures of a cruise missile that came into the center of town, and they bomb us all the time.
yeah, they do, but no, the what I mean by irregulars is these are citizens.
right. These are
These are
people fighting
citizens
like in
who-
the revolution
who
where they
are-
just picked up arms to defend their
Yeah.
homes and stuff. I get that.
Yeah,
That's
it's
incredible.
heavy. It's deep. We do have one question, and this is a tough one. We all have our speculation, what we've heard, but none of us has been there. From your outlook, what do you see are the potential outcomes? What do you see? I mean, we've all got the hope and dream is that Russia just goes home with its tail between its legs, but that's not looking like it's plausible
So
unless
much
someone
blood.
else gets involved. What are you foreseeing as outcomes?
Well, here's how I see. Again, I'm around the men and women who are motivated, the very best of Ukraine, whose only desire is not to live, to be a free people, and not to live under Russian tyranny. And so these people are the teams I'm with. They're all in, and they're giving their lives daily. You know, I've only been here for this trip for 32 days. Just got back in. You know, we've already had one team member die, and on a mission. I wasn't on the mission at that time there, and they're all in, and these guys are going to just keep fighting right there. Are there other citizens that are, you know, have different motivations or aren't as committed? Yeah, there are other, you know, men, but for the people I'm with, they're not going to start fighting. All they ask for is just the kit, the ability, the weapon systems to do that. And you know, I remember, you know, the Marine Corps and the Utah National Guard, our adversary, you know, one of our threats or you know, peer countries has been Russia for all this time. And our defense budget, you know, we have line items to make our enemies weaker to go through, have them exhaust their resources. And that's what the Ukrainians are doing. They're literally fighting the war that we've been preparing to fight for as long as I've been in the military. And they're doing it effectively. And it's is Ukrainians dying, not Americans that are dying. So I think militarily, I'd love for us to continue to support them and bring, they could potentially ruin Russia's ability, you know, financially to do any type of warfare for the next 10 years if we could just get them the support.
My big concern is that a price? Is that an outcome I'm willing to pay the price of Ukraine having a generation lost?
Yeah, we're seeing how much death is coming out of this. They're losing their youngest. They're losing full families.
What does Ukraine look like? Say we take away Russia's ability to fight for 10 years, but what does Ukraine look like at the end of that 10 years when they don't have a breeding population?
Yeah, well, there's that's a great question, and that's, you know, a little. I just know the people here that I'm with just would have freedom over being conquered. And that's the you know, my most common, when I go back to a unit or I'm introduced to a unit and I'm doing a training, their most common thing is thank you for not abandoning us. That's the most common thing I'm told right there. So there's if they're not free, you know, there's just they don't even talk about that. I mean, they're not exhausted in the sense of their willingness to fight, but they are tired. Don't get me wrong.
It's like they would rather die on their feet than live on their knees.
You
under
said it
tyranny.
very well. I wish I was that eloquent. Yes.
And I get this. This is what you're saying, like the revolution. I mean, the revolution was that. It was we're stand to the last person. And I'm seeing it from the world stage. Russia is losing so many too. And I'm wondering at what cost, what is going to get them to the table to make a peace treaty and a deal so they can stop the blood, because I think the world doesn't want to fund either side losing all these young people.
Oh, that's my big concern, is the population collapse in Ukraine wasn't good prior to this. What does it look like in 10 years? Is there, is there genetically, well, is there,
go ahead. I'm sorry.
I'm just wondering, is there genetically Ukrainian people in 50 years from now? Is there genetically Ukrainian people?
You can have a population collapse or a complete civilization collapse. Russia wants the whole chessboard. So, yes, there's Ukrainian people. These guys know how to make babies around here, and we'll be a baby boom probably like what we had at World War II.
Maybe that does happen. That does happen after a collapse, but there's a point where it can't.
I can only speculate with that one, my friend. But I know the heart is here to win this war, and they're so grateful for U.S. support. The gratitude that is expressed to me for U.S. support is tremendous. So please, people that hear, I mean, what we send here is sacred, not only to us because it's our tax, our treasure, but also to the Ukrainian men and women who are actually fighting.
Well, okay, so let me ask this. It's been proven that our funding through tax dollars hasn't been a safe means to get it there. How can people donate to, say, your organization directly?
Well, it's always great to find something, like I'm boots on the ground, and you can always hit me up at dronereaper.com. I've got a little you can donate.
That's what we're trying to get. We're trying to get how do people support you? Is it called dronereaper.com?
Drone Reaper, just like, yes, ma'am. Drone as a drone and a reaper. .com, and that's my operation right there. And yes, absolutely, be more than happy to get more drones here to the guys boots on the ground. I don't do a great job of marketing that. My focus has been, obviously the actual missions. But that's it right there. Look at that. Look at technology go.
So you've got to support and donate. The fiber drone, so is the drone, is it a drone that is connected by fiber, so it's not dedicated to a radio signal?
You nailed it, my friend.
So it can't be taken down by the new what is that? The new radio guns that they're shooting?
Electronic warfare. We just wrap it up with electronic warfare to encompass it all. So it cannot be, as you just said, it cannot be taken down by any type of electronic warfare. It's literally, Alibaba price is about $100 of additional hardware. So you go to war with the weapon systems you have, but we take this small amount of kit and attach it to the drone platforms that the units already have in abundance, and make some. So what the U.S. has, as you know, we always have precision weapons, and then so there's two fields of thought: precision or quantity. And we've always gone for precision, the U.S. Well, the Ukrainians have quantity of drones. So once we combine the fiber, which is our precision, to the quantity, it makes us very lethal. As you well know, most of the drones do not make their intended hit, their intended target. Only about 33% is the average rate that actually make contact. When you add fiber to the drone, we can get that above 90% because we can't be jammed, we can't be taken out.
What kind of weapon can you put on the drone? Can you vary it so that you've got guns, or you've got bombs, or you've got just research, so you've got cameras and whatever? But how in depth can you get with these?
Very in depth. The go-to is an RPG-7 warhead. That's for a hot load, or a thermobaric warhead is another very popular. And we can, on a 7-inch drone, on a 10-inch drone, we can go 1.5 to 2 kilo of actual munition.
And are they quiet, or are they Are they able to get in there pretty stealthily? And
yeah, you hear 'em, but every soldier on the front line, that PTSD you're going to get
I
is
play
The-
Call
hearing
of Duty,
drones.
and I hear a drone in Call of Duty, and I scream.
Well,
Yeah.
the drone is probably shock factor, and I mean artillery doesn't have the best numbers of impact ratios, but it's the number one killer on the field. So
Can I just ask it? Do you see media? Because I never see footage of the fight. I don't watch regular cable. I usually watch, just whatever snippets in YouTube and all of that. But do you ever have media on the ground? I feel like if they had reporters showing the fight, because when Trump describes it, he says it's a lot of flat land and it's very difficult for, it's a bloody war, but you don't see footage of the fighting like you did during Iraq and with our guys over there in the Middle East. And yet I think if the American people saw what you guys were going through or what the soldiers were saying about wanting to fight for their freedom to the very last breath, I think that it would get more people engaged and maybe make people understand a little bit what they're fighting for.
So the question of media, yes, media does cover that. Obviously, 3 years into the war, the coverage isn't what it previously has been at the beginning of the war. But they're out here. The Ukrainian story is being told, but it's part of a news cycle, and there's a rotation now that just doesn't cover it. We've had the U.S. elections, so a lot of different stuff has came up throughout the world, and it's just not the hot topic, even though it's where most people are dying. And to your point, sir, where you were mentioning about the effectiveness of artillery, you're spot on. So I have a medical background in the military, and the amount of injuries that are being seen by gunshots, maybe you may see one gunshot for every 100 um, wound that's inflicted from artillery and drones. We classify those as the same, some type of munition going off, detonation.
indirect fire munitions, explosives. Yeah.
Well said. Well said.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm Army myself. I'm probably a little older than you. So I wasn't in there when the USSR was still alive, but close enough to where that was still our battle call when we got issued our weapon.
Got it. Got it. Same thing here. I actually think I'm older than you, young man. I do want to tell you, we were talking about the fiber drone, and the reason that this became such a crusade for me is March 8th of last year, an article came out about a downed Russian fiber drone. And I saw that, and as an infantry marine, trained as an infantry marine, I recognized what that could do for our, Ukrainian brothers and sisters. I was in Utah, and just took pictures of it, or from the article had pictures of it, and got in touch with a couple of the volunteer groups I was just all connected with, and we started plugging and playing and putting something together, made our version of it. 3 months later, I'm back in Ukraine. This was my fourth trip at that time, and we were getting the Ukrainians spun up on our version of a fiber drone. And here's why it's so effective: is not only can it not be jammed, because you can't take those special guns or anything with electronic warfare
Like an
and
EMP.
overpower the signal, but you got to think about this. Anytime you're sitting in a location and you're transmitting your radio signal to control your drone, and you'd have to increase your amperage or your signature, it's easily detected. And one thing the Russians are very good at, and we don't like saying it, but they're much better at their electronic warfare game than we are. As far as Ukrainian skill level, and the fiber allows us to operate with no signature whatsoever.
So you're a ghost.
Because we're a ghost. Well said. So we launch because everything's over a hard cable, and it's truly helped save the lives of our our Ukrainians service members by that. And again, Russia has this, so we're still playing catch up in that regard. But the speed in which Ukrainians are bringing more fiber online is completely outpacing the Russians, because the innovation of when I left here last October, basically the 1st of November, to where we are now, is just it's multiple folds increase on what they're doing.
So how ironic, a picture you see in an article gets some boy in Utah to decide, wow, I can do that, and sends you over the pond to make sure that you're going to equip an army with your knowledge. And are there more of you? Are there more of you, fellow soldiers, fellow Marines that have joined you, citizens of America that have gone over there to help? Are you a rare person? Like are there many Americans over there helping?
In Ukraine, I'm not rare in the sense, but I will tell you, it is very when you come over to Ukraine, it is just disproportionate the amount of United States Marines who are over here serving. They're volunteering. I meet them left and right. Some sign contracts with the Ukrainian military, to be clear. So you can sign a contract and you go into the military system. And they love that, because it helps bring the unit's standards or awareness up, because you're Western trained, or at the early days. Now Ukraine's obviously the expert in warfare there, but there are tons of Marines who are over here. And I met a guy yesterday. He's a Marine. I said, why are there so many of us over here? And he gave me a hug. He says, because we never got because we're always on duty. Was his line.
Well, does this ever get like a conflict of interest, to where maybe Russian generals see this as American boots on the ground? Do they keep a secret of what Americans are over there? Does our government make sure that you guys are going alone, that this does not represent the United States in any way?
We're not in uniform. I mean, we're here on our own time.
And you're not wearing a flag or anything like that.
Well, I mean, I'm representing the USA. So, if we're from the States, we'll have a US flag on, a lot of us right there. But it's not, I'm a US I'm from the USA and I'm here volunteering, but I do not have a US government. I'm not under contract with the U.S. government as a member of the military. So, can it be said, hey, if I was, hey, I was in the U.S. military, I mean, can they spin it? Sure. But, there's no active contract with me and the other people over here.
I'm just always curious, because I know that's something people wonder. David Weiss says you put a flamethrower on there. And Patricia Weiss says, good to see you, my friend Troy. And Fred says, any person fighting to defend their home and family is inspirational. I mean, we say this often on the show. I don't think Americans nowadays really understand what true poverty is, or what, real
sacrifice,
tyranny looks like, to where, you're willing to give up anything and everything to protect your homeland. I think that we've been really lucky to have, service members go out and do the hard stuff for us in other countries, but haven't had to really fight at home. So I think the perspective from the Ukrainians is probably it's live or die at this point on where you live. Move a little bit, but keep fighting. So I think that it's an interesting perspective, and I appreciate you sharing this and being on the show. I mean, you're the first person I've spoken with that has actually fought in Ukraine. And I'm surprised we haven't seen more interviews with people fighting in Ukraine. Maybe it is the look that people are afraid of, that we have American soldiers over there. Maybe there's that whole concept that, oh crap, that looks like we're sending them. And yet, who else is going to volunteer but Marines, right? Soldiers, of course. There's somebody in need and they want to be there to serve those people. I'm just very intrigued. What do you think? You're awful quiet.
No, I'm listening. It's a tough one. I'm of multiple minds on this. What you said a while ago, knocking Russia back 10 years, when we did that, that was done to us in Vietnam, right?
I see what you. Yeah, you could definitely.
And Vietnam didn't come out of that in good shape.
Yeah.
And Vietnam was then invaded by China right after, and then by Cambodia for China right after that. And then Afghanistan, we did it back to Russia again. And that's fine. I don't knock a superpower down. That doesn't bother me. But I'm truly concerned for the Ukraine.
Well, you think of how many times Ukraine has been invaded by Russia. You know, they're just ready for this to stop. And if Russia can get a big enough black eye and be broken, Germany doesn't invade France anymore. That's those days of just like they're done. So,
but no, Germany doesn't invade France anymore because Germany won with the European Union.
Yeah,
Germany won. They dominate the. They did dominate until they gave up on using natural gas and went to wind farms, and now they're done. But that's honestly, but Germany had won. Germany conquered Europe economically, and that's the best win ever. There's no blood in that one, just money.
Mm-hmm. Well, I don't know the big picture, and you're asking great questions, but I can tell you, as far as boots on the ground, the men and women that live in this apartment all around me in this city just don't want to live under Russian tyranny, and they'll continue to bleed and die to make that not their scenario for them and their children.
I agree. I agree. When the USSR invaded the Ukraine in, what was it, 29, they had an army, a Ukrainian army led by a cavalry captain. I forget his name off the top of my head.
He has so much knowledge in his
But
head.
it was the Black Army is what they called it. And it was an anarchist Black Army. And I loved their story. They just rode around to Ukraine doing hit and run tactics against the Russians and pestered them for year and a half. I mean, they lost in the end, but that's just because of sheer numbers. And that started under Lenin.
So Ukraine's always been in a battle, I guess.
The Ukraine Russia. Is always not
Ukraine
just against
has
Russia.
A lot of minerals, and they've got a lot of advantage to where they are in the ocean and the transport,
and they've got a lot of arable land, and everyone around there has always wanted Ukrainian arable land. Here's a thought for you. I was talking to a National Guardsman a couple months ago. You know what NTC is, correct?
Yeah, please enlighten me. I'm sure I did at one time, but
National Training Center for the military out in Fort Ord, California, the desert training.
Okay.
I have heard that has been moved, or it's in the process of being moved to Boise, Idaho.
For terrain reasons?
And Boise, Idaho looks exactly like Ukraine.
Okay. So what? They're going to plan on sending our troops there?
That's what it looks like.
Well, David says, what happens when the Russians take over a territory? What rights do they take away?
Yeah.
Everything. Hey, I'll tell you, the people here in Ukraine who say they want to be Russian or think they have Russian sympathies, they change their mind pretty quick after they are living under Russian rule. So they just. All right. Well, I do want you to hear this clearly. The amount of rapes that are documented and factual are they will never be reported to the scale, because the scale that's currently being reported is unbelievable. And the inhumanity of the Russian soldier is just brutal. It's a different mindset right there. And, I remember a lot of my guys would come home, Marines, and we're talking about ISIS just being pure evil, the mindset. And there seems to be a similar pattern right there of the brutality towards the population when they take over. They're not coming in as liberators. They're coming in as as invaders and terror and pure terror.
And there's a lot of women who fight on, and there's a lot of women who are fighting soldiers, right, in Ukraine.
There are a lot of in medical roles right there. I mean, there's just an hour and 15 minutes from here. There's the city of Sumy, Ukraine, with 449 mass graves there. Execution. They went out and it looked, you know, I'm sure had to dig their own graves there. And the Russians, when they came into that city, just executed that in one spot. There's mass graves all over this country.
It does make your blood boil. I mean, it makes a part of me say, you know what, let's throw all in and let's just invade Russia. Let's just, you know.
Yeah, but what cost? I mean,
but at what cost?
It's not a drone attack, it's a nuclear attack, and the world could end.
Well, I hope no one's invading Russia there, but let's just get Russia back out of the Ukraine territory and let them defend themselves.
If that's their level of people, you know what?
I mean, what's going to stop them?
I'm fine with, you know, fertilizing the earth with them.
Well, that's their level of military personnel that they're pitting into the.
Well, then we won't be hard on their civilians, but you know.
So Russia, Fred says Russia has demonstrated their willingness to keep moving the line forward against Ukraine if they're allowed to. I mean, I just don't know where this ends, and if they are causing this much treachery on the people, it's not a liberating situation where they can do better for the people. And Americans don't know, and I don't think know enough about this war. This war has been a money dig for them, and they just want out. They want United States out of wars totally. I think the mandate and the election was proof of that. But how does this end? Which Russia has to say, okay, we give up. And they're not going to do that. Putin's not going to do that. They've lost so many themselves. I mean, logically, he wouldn't do that. Would Ukraine be willing to give up Kiev or property and say, okay, the line is stopped here. This is now the new boundary. You win this. We walk away with this. We stay sovereign. You stay sovereign. And then we fix it from there. Like, do you have any idea where they think that the end looks? Is Ukraine going to be able to take back the property that's already been taken?
Those are all excellent questions, and the spirit's there to take back the property. It's just a matter is to take back the lands. It's just a matter is the equipment there, the ability. So again, that's higher level, questions. And
I'm asking you to tell me the general's plan and all of that, and I'm sorry.
No, but,
it's above your pay grade because you're donating your time.
Yeah, but I am in a unique perspective. You're asking me, what's the spirit of the Ukrainian people and the people who are fighting, and they're fighting to the end right there. And all these men and women just want all their lands back. They want where their moms grew up and where their dads worked in this area. They want to take it back to the Russian boundaries. I mean, that's where their goal. They want all their lands. When you look at the maps here in Ukraine and what's on, they have Crimea and they have complete country there. So it's not a negotiation point. Now, how it ends, again, we know how it ends, in 2014, there were some different lines, but I want everyone to just maybe we can look it up, but to look at the memorandum. I think of it quickly. It was the original piece where Ukraine agreed to give up their nuclear weapons. There is I can't think of it right now.
I recall that. I thought that a lot of countries at the time were giving up nuclear weapons.
But there were agreements made. And Budapest, was it the Budapest memorandum? Maybe we can Google that. And you'll see right there that Russia, U.S., and Britain agreed that Ukraine would be a sovereign country if they could, and that we would defend that.
Yes.
Right.
But they didn't join NATO. That was another rule, right? In this treaty?
They weren't in NATO in 2014 either when they were pushed.
But they would get to stay sovereign, but they would have the protection of the United States if something happened, as long as they gave up their nukes.
It's not in that agreement as far as not joining NATO. there. It's just that if they give up their newts, their landmass would remain sovereign there. They'd be a free country and Russia wouldn't invade, right? So anyways, obviously that's proven otherwise.
Oh, that's just, it's a sad deal. And I think people should definitely check out your, we put it in the comments,
the
website.
I appreciate
and check it out. I know if David Weiss had an opportunity to get one of your drones and equip it with, he's got dreams of all kinds of things that he could equip your drone with. And it's dronereaper.com.
It is. And guys, I just want to tell you, I appreciate your time. I was tuned in earlier, and I love the conversations that you're having. Obviously, 50+% of America has the same mindset and conversations based on, what I heard earlier. And so I'm grateful for this platform and what you guys bring to the table as far as conversation goes. And I also appreciate the opportunity to be here as a citizen of Utah, and sharing my experience of how I'm assisting Ukraine to maintain freedom and discuss the fiber drone. So I'm grateful for the time.
Well, when you get back to Utah, if we could offer you, we're out in Tooele. If you'd come out and come on the show and give us an update. It's a heavy deal.
It's heavy.
It's heavy when Russia is notoriously a very brutal military. Just read about their march to Berlin. It was so bad Trotsky was in shock over it.
Before you got on, I was talking about the list of people that have fallen off of buildings and have or shot themselves in the head 5 times to commit suicide because they disagreed with the war or argued with Putin. That is tyranny, and that is a dictator. The problem is this is just, I don't know how it ends. Is it a circle, and how many lives have to be lost? And do we get a good outcome in the end? And it's going to take so much more than, I think, more than just talking at a table. They're going to have to give, someone's going to have to give. And eventually what? Does the world have to put Putin down? I don't know how this ends. So I'm grateful that you're on the show, and I'm grateful you set an alarm to talk to us. And
woke up early.
Yes. And that you're from Utah, and you're part of our extraordinary military. And I just think it's pretty great that we're getting a firsthand view. Fred says Russia will circle around and go after those natural resources again. And Fred also says it's good to hear from someone who has seen it with their own eyes. That's very enlightening to me, because you're the first person that I've talked to that military wise is seeing the actual fighting in action. I've talked to people that I adore that have been over there in the political spectrum trying to help and get aid, and they're giving a different perspective, and they love the Ukrainian people, and they're asking for resources from a government perspective. But to hear from somebody militarily that with Alibaba is able to get drones for so much cheaper and actually give them a fighting chance. This is great. It's just, for me, it's very scary, because I don't know what the answer is. Vietnam, my father fought in Vietnam, and he came home and was a mess over it, I believe. And the loss was even worse, that we had to walk away from that. So I'd like to know that there's a winning strategy here, and the people of Ukraine can rebuild, and hopefully they can live in peace over there without this being a constant drag on them.
But it appears to be a pretty constant drag based on Russia's aggression towards them, especially after the Budapest Memorandum has been violated so many times at this point. But, here's the thing that we can do as individuals. There's only one chance to be on the right side of history. And, we always say never again. And in my opinion, never again is right now. And, it's regardless of what governments may or may not do to defend, to keep promises, to defend Ukraine. It's up to me as an individual, because you really can in this world make a difference. And here I am, a 51-year-old guy, saw a fiber drone. I don't even fly drones at that time, and I'm coming forth, and it's been extremely popular here. This version and other versions that the Russians again were ahead of us on this. But my point is we have one chance to be on the right side of history. Getting something you believe in and make a difference, contribute, get active like you guys have done, bringing a voice of logic and reason to the community. With your show, I'm supporting Ukraine, and but I really do know as individuals we can make a difference in this world for the good. There. So that's why, again, grateful to be on the show. If anyone wants to support this line of work that I'm doing, again, I'm not passing out diapers. I'm all about warheads on foreheads. It's dronereaper.com. And
warheads on foreheads.
Mm-hmm. No, that's
ahead,
awesome. That's awesome. A $600 drone. I mean, for anyone who doesn't know, an M16 costs about $21,000. That's what our government's paying for an M16.
Are you serious?
100%.
Why? Why are they so expensive?
One, our government's paying for it, and two,
we'll find out. Elon will show us.
Yes, he will.
And then we'll have Troy tell us how much he could do it for with Alibaba.
A $600 drone and a $600 drone, even if it does not eliminate an enemy, the shock value of it is, you can watch the videos. A drone shows up on the field and the guys start to scatter.
Yeah, they don't know what it'll do. And it may take a tank out. It sounds like these can be armed with pretty much extraordinary weapons, so that, you don't know what it's going to do. Is it going to blow a whole team up? Is it going to just put one person in the light and just take that one person out? Is it going to drop a missile into a tank? And this is extraordinary.
Does the drone carry the fiber spool on it, or is the fiber spool? Wow.
It does. That was version 1. That's before we took that massive 10-kilometer spool in that picture, and now we've got it reduced to 1/3 the size, and so it's much more aerodynamic there, less drag, less resistant, so our ranges are going longer. I'm doing a 30-kilometer, 30-kilometer missions in 48 hours going into Kursk region, and we'll be flying those 2 flights, so it's just a little bit longer for our normal mission. But I had some product made by a U.S. developer and said, hey, let's go test this. And it's working great. So
are these drones going to be with ordnance, or are they going to be intelligence?
No. Everything I do is ordnance right there. We get the best. We're going to take out some juicy targets.
So this is $100 drone.
No, let's clarify. About 600 is what is about 650. It basically is what the cost point is.
Still 650. You could buy a nice drone, and it's still not top of the line here for people just messing around. A $650 drone, can it carry the size of a person?
No, ma'am. No, ma'am.
So the weaponry is going to be bound by what it can carry weight wise.
Yeah, you're looking at about 2-3 pounds, basically.
Okay,
is what we're carrying.
It's
2 to 3 pounds of explosive it's
a lot of explosive.
That's good explosive.
Yes, and again, as we know, it's better to if we can inflict an injury and take 2 or 3 guys out to take care of the one injury is more effective than just eliminating the one person. So it's anyway, that's getting into the math.
Yeah, wow. And if you can take out a piece of equipment.
Yeah, you nailed it, brother. You were trained well by the Army. So the higher value target's always equipment versus a man. Truthfully, you want the men to stay and just take away their supplies and kit, because then morale breaks. They complain, that gets infectious. They break ranks, and it's definitely what's needed.
It instills fear in them too. Like they want to run.
How are you guys
I'll
on?
tell you, when you say run, we set these drones up, we're exposed, and the fiber drone takes a little more finesse to set it up. And, there's, every time I've ran more than once to make sure have cover with these drones. So you see, when you go on the battlefield, you see more drones than you do people. We literally infilled at night, during the dark, and I will not typically won't see people because you have zero line, the front line, and then about half a kilometer back or further are positions for the drone operators.
Just out of lead range.
Plus that wire, that line capsule looks like it could be, C4 for all they know. I mean, it looks pretty crazy itself. I think it's fascinating. Is there anything you want to share with us before we let you go? Anything you want to end on?
Well, I wanted to ask something.
Fantastic.
Are you guys able to pierce behind their lines and take out their supply vehicles, their fuel vehicles?
100%.
That's the ideal targets there.
We're launching. So the reason that the fiber drone's so effective is we're able to launch that in a denied environment. So the Russians get pretty, let's say, comfortable because they dominate this AO with their superior jamming system. So they're under this umbrella, they're protected. And then, here comes Troy's fiber drone.
They don't see it coming.
Hearing a buzz and they're thinking, wait a minute, this should be dropping. Well, it's going to drop soon. But boom, we penetrate through their umbrella and we're going right into whatever target's been identified because there's reconnaissance drones at higher altitudes identifying the targets. So for every money shot you see, there's a ISR drone, a reconnaissance drone above orchestrating that battlefield, identifying targets, and whatever team is within the closest proximity of those targets, we go out and eliminate them with those FPV teams.
This is the new method of war.
Well, the next major war we see on Earth is going to be a drone war.
Oh, I thought it was going to be fought with sticks because it's going to be a nuclear war.
If it goes nuclear, then maybe it'll be. But no, the next one we see is going to be. If you've ever read a history book, our next war is going to be a drone war. Like
Star Wars said, Battle of the Drones.
Just like
Episode 2.
Well, it's definitely a component, guys. But far as just saying, I just want to thank you for your time. I do want to say that we learned this from the Ukrainian people every day going against odds. I mean, we all thought most of us thought Russia was going to take Ukraine within months. And you see, we're still fighting. Ukrainian people are still fighting. And I've learned, as bad as everything may appear, that truly the very best of this world, there's some of the very best people I've ever met are right here in Ukraine, duking it out with the Ukrainian people. The spirit of Ukrainian people, the spirit of wanting to be free and maintain freedom is well alive, all throughout this world. And people do show up in the worst places to do the Lord's work here in Ukraine. And I'm very optimistic towards just the outcome because so many of us are giving it their all for a favorable result in Ukraine. And so it's humbling to be on the right side of history and to stand with the Ukrainian people. And yes, if you want to put a drone, reach out to me through the website and I'll dedicate it. I'll make a video of it and of the mission and be effective with your the blessing with your donation. So guys,
you put like the names of the donor if they want right there on there.
Do it.
Like, hi from the United States. Boom.
Yeah, if I have a good Starlink signal and Wi-Fi, I'll launch the drone and everything. You just dial right in and go live with you.
Oh my gosh, how much is that? How much does that cost again? We should start fundraising.
Generously give. We'll have that conversation. So But guys, thank you for having me.
Thank you, Troy. And we hope to see you when you come back stateside. Be safe tomorrow.
Yeah, God bless you.
Hope you're wearing body armor. Hope you're carrying a weapon at least as a last defense, and stay low and fast.
Do they let you bring your own weapons into Ukraine? I hope when you fly in.
That each unit has their own procedures, but it's there's a protocol for me if we get overran, and so we've got all that worked out beforehand.
My goodness. Wow. Well, thank
Stay
you for
safe,
doing
man.
that.
Thank you guys. Appreciate
we
what
hope
you're
to see
doing.
you when you get back. We
Yes.
appreciate you.
Bye-bye.
All right,
Bye.
everyone. That is Troy. Let's thank him for his time and his service, giving the good name to the U.S., to the United States Marine Corps, and to the great state of Utah.
What a terrifying and amazing thing that you see a war happening in another part of the world,
Mm-hmm.
and you decide to spend your own money, donate your own time, risk your own life to go fight it. And it's just to me, it's amazing. I don't know that many people who would do so.
Dare I say he's doing a little bit of Lafayette action right there.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely.
It's heavy stuff.
Well,
and then you said,
David, may the force be with you.
The revenge of the drones.
Yeah, well, the drone wars in Star Wars.
It's the Clone Wars, isn't it?
Oh, the Clone Wars.
But no, that's something interesting. Think about our next war. If history has anything to say.
Can I just say that our local troll has made it into the building?
Yes. Percival showed up. Thank you, Percival. He showed up and he said,
God bless you, Percival.
He said, Hell Santa.
Yeah. Bless his heart.
Mm-hmm.
Or her heart. Do we know if it's a guy or a girl? I
have no clue. Percival, you need to become more clear.
Yeah.
Just has a picture of a weed plant.
I mean, I assume he was at the Democrat National Convention, so he probably knows the pronoun he or she wants to be used at.
Percival.
So, Percival, take a stand and share your pronouns with those of us.
Well, no, if you're a Democrat, let us know what you think about the Democrat National Convention. The joy of my existence right now.
It's been a good time.
You have to watch it. It is.
I hope he's still on. He got on early.
All of the super woke. Well, he got on at 7:25. All of the super woke stuff that lost the Democrats the election, lost them the mass support.
They believe it was racism that lost the election.
Tripling down. Of course, they're tripling down. They didn't vote for Kamala, not because she dropped the ball so many times and because whenever she had to do any kind of interview where a question was asked that she didn't, she didn't prime. She failed when she was asked about the economy and if she would do anything different from Sleepy Joe. She said no.
Or just the fact that she was just assigned there, given the position.
That
Democrats didn't even get to choose her.
Yeah, that the Democrats fulfilled their. Why do you have to fulfill my prophecy? I told you the Democrats are going to be what eliminates democracy. And they have.
That's why we're a republic.
For them.
Hopefully they get on that. I think it's interesting. I would love you guys to go read that Substack, because what is happening in this country right now? I mean, it gets down to, I shared it in the comments, but the Substack is eko.substack.com. And the story's called Override. Just the amount of planning and the guarantee of a win that Elon Musk has had to be a part of this strategy, and Trump has had this foresight, the foresight long before the election of how he's going to change things, this time how he's going to get to the bottom of draining the swamp.
Mm-hmm.
And let's see how many of our people are part of that and how many are, like Troy said, standing on the side of freedom, on the right side of history, to say, it doesn't matter your party. If you have hurt the American people by stealing from them, by jailing them, using them politically,
what about
bad behaviors with transportation or poisoning them, you are going to be held accountable. And that's where we're at. The accountability is where we need to be.
Man, if we hit that, that'll be magical. On an old show on coming off a different page, Keep Focus America, a guy We were talking about Trump's back in it. It was the one we did last week where Trump's back and he's already doing a whole bunch of stuff. And Blair Brandenburg made a comment that was interesting.
4 days in.
Yeah.
Trump was in 4 days during that show.
Yeah. He said, well, they shall see. There's an easy way and a hard way. FAFO. The accountability tour has started. Grab your popcorn. And man, that is prophetic right there.
I hope so. I hope so. And I hope that it's for the betterment of our country and not to our demise.
Oh,
because
yes.
if we have to take out our entire Senate and our House and all these people go without jobs because the federal government is getting shut down and the employees are all, United States citizens, we're going to have a really hard time in this country. The federal government is the number one employer in the nation. And if he's ready to shut departments down, Department of Education is next. The person he's put in charge of that knows her sole purpose is to shut that government agency down.
Mm.
And if we have to shut all these agencies down, we're going to have a lot of people out of work. So we have to take the good with the bad, and we have to be patient. And
like Thomas Sowell said, there are no solutions. There's only trade-offs.
Well, and Fred says, I want my money back. There's going to be a lot of Americans who are going to look at this and they're going to say, wait a minute, the government should be sending us checks because they have ripped us off our entire lives.
Mm-hmm.
And that might sound so good. I know it sounds really good. But the fact is, we need to get our spending done. And if we want to get out from underneath this debt, any funds needs to go back to paying our debt off and eliminating this spending option. So 2 years is how long our House and Senate have to get these executive orders into law. That should be number one priority. Every executive order Trump signs, somebody needs to be pushing the issue and getting a bill in front of Congress to get this cemented into law so that in the next election, which is, we could lose the House, we could lose the Senate. It always changes anyway. It could be, depending on how America takes this first round. But a lot of this stuff could be held up for 2 more years. Yeah. And then it's just government getting in its own way and the fighting of the inner parties.
Well, I think we need to restrict our federal government to the Constitution.
Now let's get these into law.
We need to force the 9th and 10th Amendments on them. Jeff Adamson says, didn't Biden tell the pipeline workers to learn to code? Yes, he did.
Absolutely did.
I want to tell all those bureaucrats to learn to Mexican backhoe. And if anyone doesn't know what a Mexican backhoe is, I've got a foundation to dig here in about a month. Come on by, I'll teach you.
Jeff, that is the greatest because that's like the read my lips. It's going to come back to haunt Biden because he was so
flippant,
arrogant about it.
Yep.
Learn to code. We're going into, these teenagers learned to code. And not only did they do that, but they learned how to dissect the U.S. government spending in a way that Biden's going to have 50 plus years of benefit is going to be shown. And I don't know that he gave himself a pardon for all 50 years he was in office.
I don't think they'll end up going after Biden for it. But
it will change the history books into how people will remember him.
The history books are
this
already
all gets
written
exposed,
on how we'll remember
the Clintons, Obama, the Bushes, the Reagan, Kennedy. If we find out that all of this was done by every president from however long on, accountability has to be done. And I'm not saying you throw an 80-plus-year-old man in jail or prison or whatever, but bring up Fauci to me. Let's see what he knows.
Fauci. Now, the stuff that came out, the stuff that I was boiled over last week on, where they knew for months the CIA did its ninja stuff in China and found out, it came from the lab. And Fauci did it. Fauci paid for it knowingly. And then they decided to cover it up until Trump gets in there. Yeah, Obama banned it, and Fauci still did it. Just use word salad to get around it.
And Fred says this season will pass if those who lose their jobs, work hard, replacing their income. It'll happen. If they sit around waiting for their next handout, it might get painful for them. Again, that's if
Either
the federal
way,
government does mass layoffs like they did with USAID. They went from 10,000 to 300 overnight employees. And we really need to be prepared as a country to hurt. And I don't think as a country, the last 4 years was a good test to what hurt feels like. But freedom is painful. And accountability is painful. And our own side is going to be exposed. And we need to be willing to be consistent.
Take care of any problem. David says, once Doge digs out our government, we will prosper. Probably a pretty good chance of that. Our government, restrictive governments have always been a drag on the economy. I mean, India should be exploding on the world stage, but they're the most bureaucratic government on earth. And that's why India is still the mess it is.
Jeff says we need protection put in place before the pendulum swings.
Yes.
And that's what my whole point of get this stuff into law and concrete this in, because the pendulum always swings.
Yes.
And right now, what we're looking at is being done because it's right.
Mm-hmm.
And it's constitutional and it's for the American people.
What about all
the exposure needs to be done? Laws need to be put in place so that it cannot continue. And the United States needs to remember it's American people first.
Did you see old Elizabeth Warren said, there's nothing in the Constitution that says you need to see how we're spending your money?
She's such a dingbat. And a lot of her words are coming back to haunt her too, before she was in Congress. And I've seen stuff. You get on X, folks, if you want to see the funniest,
X is a wild ride,
most witty comments of your life, or the memes. I mean, I don't know where people come up with this stuff, but our country's made up of some really funny people.
Oh, it's just spice.
And this is just, our government's just handing them content too. And then you get to see the people who are losing their ever-loving minds. And at what? Because you can't be racist anymore and tell someone that because of the color of their skin, they can't get a job by themselves. They need your help. Like it's the people are seeing a different version. And we've been called so many bad names for so many years that it stopped it doesn't have its potency anymore.
Here's my question. So you got the young men have gone to the Republican Party because society has pushed them out with their initiatives to support everyone but them.
The woke mind virus.
I don't think those young men support the Republican Party. They're just the only ones that give them a voice. And the Democrats refuse to ditch that virus. And as those young men get older and they get concreted into, because as you get older, you become more conservative, unless you have no brain. As they get older, they get concreted into it. That's where we may have a backlash. We may have guys that actually do kind of take conservatism a little further. Like that in Louisiana, you got that Louisiana senator trying to make a bill that thou shalt not drop thou seed anywhere but in thou's wife. And I'm like, whoa, there's been
laws on the books though. For adultery's been illegal in a lot of states.
No, he's doing the old biblical stuff, like not even on the ground. And yes, there's been laws like that, but for one to try to be pushed,
calling it mass murder?
I don't know, but for one to try to be pushed in 2025.
But that's not a Republican principle. It's not.
It's a conservative principle.
No,
but it makes me laugh.
Right-wing extremist.
Sure, but it makes me laugh that he's doing that. Like he's going for it. He says, "Now's my window."
That poor guy. He needs to. Relax.
You know what? That guy has an addiction. I promise you, he can't keep his hand off himself if he's fighting that hard to stop everyone else.
40 million donations to Wuhan through Eco Health Alliance purchases a COVID mutant. I guarantee it purchases a lot more than that. We only know about COVID, but yeah.
That's the one they let out to
it's
ruin a presidency.
Chemical warfare and bio warfare. All of this, again, isn't done with boots on the ground. This is guys in lab coats who could be the ones fighting the wars ahead of us.
I'm right now, the big conspiracy I'm riding on is that it was released on purpose to get Trump out.
That would not surprise me.
That is my big conspiracy in my mind. Like, it is, I don't know if it's true or not, but it looks like it. Fred says the strange thing is the young men are becoming further to the right and the young women are going nuts and fighting to stay left. Single women are staying on the left. That is true. Married women are not.
I'm seeing a lot more young women want to be engaged in our party, but it's again, it's that women. Same thing though with the woke mind virus, because women are told that men should be, I hate to say betas, and men should be this, and yet these young women are like, well, no, I do want to marry a man who's going to be able to support a family, and someday I do want to be a mother, and I single white women. I do see that the principles are coming back into young people, but that's easy to do when there have been none for 4 years. And we're coming out of 4 years after COVID, and these kids, were kept at home and couldn't see their grandmothers and couldn't have friends. And they went through all of this. And so these young people, I think I want to say they're finding their place, but I think they're coming out swinging, actually.
I hope so.
And just hopefully they know what they're swinging at and why.
Fred says people of color are realizing the truth. Men of color are. Women of color.
Yeah, it's
not so much.
Watch that DNC, and all of those women were of color.
Watch that. Everybody. That is it.
Did you
will not be disappointed. No, I'll find, just go to Walk Don't Run Productions on YouTube. He's a great conservative follow.
Or you can just look up DNC convention and you'll have a bunch of options.
Or They Have Learned Nothing is another common name of that. But it is hilarious. They are digging deeper. David Hogg is the one that concerns me the most out of that group, because I think he recognizes that. And
he's still got to play in that sandbox.
He's gonna ride that anti-gun thing as much as he can. So we may see, and this may work to our benefit, but it may also bite us. We may see the Democrat Party lean hard on anti-gun and start losing their woke mind virus for an anti-gun push. So
but we have the Republicans leaning hard on Constitution.
We've got to fight for the guns.
One has to go with the other. And David Hogg, it's just he's just ridden that out, the gun thing. And I don't know very many people, maybe young people might listen to him. I'm not sure, but I don't think, his message is getting more fine-tuned, I guess. But he sat there and ended up winning at the Democrat convention and knocking all those black women out and those binary people out. And at the end of the day, after all that rhetoric and all that DEI just bloviating and all of that, 2 white dudes still won.
Well, so Fred says the anti-gun thing is not working. I got another one delivered to me 2 days ago. Did you get the shorty dragon, Fred? The one you and I chatted about? I hope so.
But that pendulum swing.
I'm concerned about the anti-gun thing, because that anti-gun thing, man, I'm all in on guns, and that's what I'm gonna fight for. And I'm fighting for guns outside of the paradigm of the Constitution. Because one, they don't care about it. I can say Constitution to them all until I'm blue in the face. They don't care that it says it in there.
But you
They'll
gotta
say I
understand,
read it wrong. No, I'm going to
outside
say
of the Constitution,
I'm going to say I'm fighting for guns with the gun that's in my hand.
right? The interpretation of what they say is legal in the Constitution is really what gets me, because the Constitution is so clear, shall not be infringed. In order to protect you from a tyrannical government, well, then you should own what the government owns. At the same time, like the interpretation of what the Constitution says guns should be. Now, you'd be called a right-wing crazy by saying, well, you own nukes, we should own nukes. If you own an automatic rifle in the military, we should own automatic rifles. But at the same time,
No, that's not crazy.
the Constitution was created by people who were fighting with illegal guns that matched the military they were up against. So we could be really like...
Yeah, Jeff Adamson says on guns, Chevron, he's talking about Chevron deference, should have about gutted every BS rule from the ATF. Why don't someone begin some challenges? Okay, Thomas Massey put a bill in last week. We'll see if it makes it to the floor on respecting the concealed carry permit nationally.
That is a really good idea.
And I hope that comes through. Or no, constitutional. I think it was a concealed carry
nationally
permit
through all the
nationally.
states.
I want to see the NFA torn apart. We don't need the NFA. It's BS.
I thought you wanted them there to take the slings and arrows.
Wanted the NFA there?
Oh no, I'm thinking of the NRA.
Oh no, the NFA is the National Firearms Act. I want that gone. I bring that up to every politician I talk to. Celeste Malloy is jumping in on on a pro gun push right now. When I talked to her at the Capitol, she said, keep an eye out for it. It'll be coming out. Hopefully she calls me and lets me know when that comes out so I can advertise it on here and get everyone to throw their support behind it. Fred says he got PSA 10.5 barrel AK pistol with a folding stock. So he'll be cruising something fancy in April. When we meet up at that class, I'll be driving. I don't know what I'm driving there yet.
I assume you're going to drive your truck.
Well, John Farnham's coming out teaching a response to terrorism course. So
that was my dad joke.
Yeah, it'll be a multi-gun course. It will have a sidearm, a secondary, and a primary. And I still don't know.
What about a knife course? Like I think we get.
Sure, we know a guy.
What's his name out here? And
Patrick. Yeah, we know a guy. Jeff Adamson says Red Massey's bill. Love it. Thomas Massey, he's my North Star. Thomas Massey is the guy I look to when I have a question. And by the way, he has something like 30 co-sponsors already. Oh, that is so good to hear.
We need to get it all in place now.
We need to talk to Celeste. We need to get her
2 years
on
comes
that
quickly. And if we do not get this stuff into law before 2 years is up and anything happens, we can all be back to square one again.
We just need to get the NFA out of law. Just get rid of it. And if you get rid of the NFA, that does away with the ATF. The ATF was, of course, born under prohibition for alcohol. And then they adopted firearms because they had already poisoned enough Americans in the prohibition. They did.
I get it.
Like 6,000.
But they also caused a whole ton of revolution because of their overreach.
So then they moved into firearms. So yeah. Patrick teaches knives nonstop. Yeah, for sure. We need to. He was a great. Here's one thing I'm looking for. And if anyone knows anyone to reach out, I want to find someone to sponsor that does trauma medicine training, trauma, not medicine, but trauma first aid training. Like we used to have a guy that did it, but yeah, tourniquet, gunshot wounds, things like that. I'm looking for a new guy around here that can do that I can send people to. So if you guys know anyone, if anyone out there has medical background, wants to take up the cause on that,
So what's the organization
Get a
that
hold of me.
trains for? They do like for natural disasters and stuff. Are they called like PERC or something?
I don't know.
There's something. They are in our town, and if somebody knows, Fred, maybe you know.
National Dad Disaster.
Response.
Jeff
County.
Adams says, why, when our 2A shall not be infringed, do we have the ATF to infringe? They infringe on everything. Why does it, I mean, at least they wrote an amendment so that the federal government can steal from you directly. But why can't you own the property you buy? Why do you have to pay taxes on it every year?
Forever.
We have no property rights in this nation. You don't own it. If you have to pay taxes on it, you don't own it. There's so many things. I can understand if you're going to drive on roads that they built to say, I'm going to get a license.
CERT. Is it CERT?
CERT, the
CERT.
Okay.
I think they're a group and they teach you how to respond to national disasters or to triage. There's a bunch of groups, but there's one in Tooele County that you could sign up for their course and the people would show you, they teach you how to wrap a wound, how to, take care of a triage so you know who needs it the most, and then how to mark your door if it is a national disaster.
Okay.
Put a green
good.
square on your window if you're fine, but if you need immediate help, put a red square and then go around and look, and just how to stop the bleeding.
Yeah. We need to, stop the bleed trainer, apply a tournament,
If you're a member of CERT,
wound.
Contact us, reach out to us, because I'd be curious. They reached out to the Tooele County Young Republicans.
I will sponsor and put together a class. I'll try to get as many people from our group because I think that's important. Washington does very few good things. But one thing they did do, and I remember studying this
Amen, Jay.
years ago, Washington State made it so if you're going to get a driver's license, you have to go through just the regular first aid course that Boy Scouts and everyone went through. And that alone dropped car accident fatalities by like 5%.
I think that should be the way with people who do hunter safety too.
Do it all, and it's something you should pursue.
Why not take that course in health? It should be offered at school.
Yeah. Jeff says, looking at how USAID spends our money tells you how you need taxation on everything. Yeah.
Seriously, they got to get it from somewhere. It's like we're all that little kid getting held upside down, shaking to see they get every coin out of our pocket.
We're just fodder.
They just throw it. They just throw it at garbage.
Peasants. But the one thing we beat every other nation with our peasantdom is we're still armed. That is the ultimate expression of freedom. We still got
our rednecks, which is why we don't have Russia knocking on our doors.
That's right.
Because rednecks of this country would clean house.
We're still armed. That is the most important thing. Hang on to your weapons. Hang on to that natural right to defend yourself and the natural right to let the thoughts in your head fall out of your mouth and into other people's ears. Well, that's the show for me. You got anything else?
No, I'm just grateful to all of you for tuning in and staying with us. And hopefully you'll join us next week and do it all over again.
Yes. Yeah, we'll see you next week. We're trying to get I reached out to Celeste, going to try to get her on to come talk about what's going on back there, and then I'll chew on her ear about jumping on with
I also
Massey.
want to get Tim Burchett because he is such a good follow on X.
And I would love to get Thomas Massey on just to listen to the wizened old man on the mountain chat. Also, we're trying to get our local, senators and our state reps on just to find out what's going on. One person I want to reach out to is our county assessor to have them come on and talk about
I would like to reach out to one of our senators regarding a vote he made today, maybe yesterday, which is it's going to be Dan Thatcher.
Mm-hmm.
And if I read this right, it's called out what's going on with Tooele counties. Well, it wasn't just Tooele County, but Thatcher covers a number of other ones. And
He's got Tooele, West Valley, some of Juab, and I think a I-80 down into Eureka and then into West Valley, right?
yeah, Eagle Mountain.
Yeah.
And I'm trying to find where he put it, but it's regarding schools and their unions.
Ooh.
And we had a few of our Republicans vote a no on it. So let me see because he straight up called out Thatcher. And Republicans beholden to the union, Harper, Hinkins, Milner, Thatcher, Vickers, Winterton. UEA Republicans are why fixing ed issues in our state is like pulling teeth. I hope their loyalties to this leftist group go
reach out to
the
him,
way of the dodo.
See if he'll come out and justify. Fred says next week, give us the details about what happened to Country Fan Fest. Did something happen to Country Fan Fest?
I don't know what you're talking about. Do you want us to invite one of our county councils on?
Yeah, let's do it. Let's get a county council on. Also, they could be a good lead into talking to the assessor. The reason I want to talk to the assessor is I know multiple people.
What state rep can explain the funding cuts for sanctuary cities in Utah? If that's up on the Hill right now, pretty much any of them should be able to. If that's in committee, it just depends on what they're doing. If we've got someone on our team in our reps that are on those committees, they could do it. But getting them on is the hard part because they're right in the middle of session. In fact, Bridger Bollender, I asked him to come on. He was wanting to do it, but he's hosting meetings tonight.
Yeah, they're all going to be busy. Maybe we can see if one of them can give us quick blurbs.
Wow.
But the reason I want the
Fred.
County council, the assessor on is because I have friends whose house payment went up an extra 45%. So it went from say 1,000 to 1,600. That's just a supposed numbers. And it's because the assessor assessed it, overassessed it.
That happened to me.
And that's how people lose a house. That's insane. The way the numbers have gone up. So, and your problem is because you need to run for office there in Stansbury Park.
Well, I think it's an assessor issue also because of the amount they assessed my house for was so high. And so I think it wouldn't hurt if you have a realtor that you really believe in, ask that realtor to come in and give you an estimate on what your house is worth.
Assessor,
and then take it to the assessor and say, what the heck?
Will the assessor honor that?
She has been doing appeals for people.
Okay, good. Well, I've told my friend.
I don't know if there's a deadline, but Fred, you said it's not happening this summer because of contract issues, the Country Fan Fest. That would be huge, mainly because that is
that's our biggest draw every year.
Where these people come visit, buy gas, restaurant, hotels, and go home. And that's huge for our tourism. So I'm very curious about that. We need to dive in.
Sure.
And find out.
I'll put on my cowgirl boots and some Daisy Dukes.
Well, I think you just need to go talk to one of the counselors. I don't know if you have to.
We'll just have them come in.
What do they call those? A honeypot. You don't have to honeypot anybody.
I have to lure him around a corner.
I mean, it's Jared Hamner. You just call him. Hey, Jared.
Big boy.
What's up?
Yeah, me and Hamner get along great.
I love Jared.
Yep. And me and Ward will get along great.
It's going to be great. We'll
me
get
and
somebody
Ty get along great. I like them all. Anyways, okay, guys, that's the show. We'll look into those things. So we'll reach out to a county councilman, see if they can give us a half hour, whatever.
I'll reach out to Joy also and see
if she'll come on. That'd be heavy.
And let's be honest. I mean, Joy's only been in office for a few. She took place of her counterpart in a special election. Mm-hmm. So she's new as the county assessor, but not new to the assessor's office. So I know she'll have a lot of information. She's got an open door policy. I've always been able to connect with her. And if you live in the county and you have a question, call their office and find out. You should tell your friends, go see if they
I've told them
And then
over and
some
over
people
again.
will just complain and not do it. I'm one of them. I should have been in that office
He's
in
one of them as well.
September and said, hey, redo this because this is insane. And I just haven't.
Plus,
I got the Stansbury Service Agency, you feel me, that also wants to take on some initiative in the tax part of my life.
Rubbing you blind.
Pretty much. So
seriously,
Donald Trump, keep doing what you do. And Elon, you and your young minions of intelligence, whatever these young people have created, I hope that you guys patented it and put it in the AI plan for future governments to have to live by. But
seriously,
I want accountability, folks.
Rein it back in.
I don't care what side you're on.
What would it look like if the government didn't steal 50% of our income? More than 50 in the end. God,
what if they didn't restrict all our innovation over the last 30 years? I mean, look how stunted we've been.
They make me feel savage. All right, you guys have a good week.
We love you.
Be safe. Yeah. Bye.
Bye.